Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 9 to 5 Musician, where we strive to make your life a little bit better every day through music. Now, we are continuing on with our Piano Beginner Basics series. This is a course that is 6 weeks long and is designed to get you started with the fundamentals and basics of playing the piano. We are currently on week 3 of 6, so if you haven't already, go back and watch the first 2 weeks so that you're all caught up for today's lesson. Before we get into it, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, turn the notification bell to on and always so that you never miss a video from us. Now, today's topics, scales and chords. Just 2 topics, but there's plenty to talk about within them. So go ahead, get ready for today's lesson, and let's have a lot of fun with this. I really hope you learned something and enjoy. Let's start our lesson for today. Okay, so the first topic we'll be going into is scales. Scales are like a musical ladder of sorts in that you're going to go up and down, and it's simply just a formula of whole and half steps. So last time we talked about the difference between a half and a whole step. We'll just review quickly. So if I'm going from C, a half step up would be the next black note, a half step down would be B with the next white note. To go a whole step, you're going to skip over one note to get to D going up, or on the way down, B flat. So this is half and whole step again. So to make a major scale, simply all you have to do is use a certain combination of these half and whole steps. So let's do C major. This is a very friendly key because there's no sharps and no flats. So from C major, we're going to go up a whole step, up a half step, a whole step, a whole step, a whole step, and a half step. And that's it. And then when you come down, it's just the same. So start from C, come down a half step, down a whole step, down a whole step, down a whole step, down a half step, down a whole step, down a whole step. You can use this formula to create any major scale. So this can apply from starting from any note on the piano, and it'll create the same major scale. Now, minor scale. I don't want to use A minor, which would be the relative of C major that has also no sharps and no flats. Instead, I want to show you C minor so that you can see the difference between C major and C minor. So, C minor. Again, it's a certain combination of whole and half steps. It's slightly different than the major scale. So let's take a look. Starting from C, we go up a whole step, now up a half step to E flat, then a whole step, a whole step, a half step, a whole step, a whole step. So it's just as easy, but the combination is a little bit different. Okay, let's come down. So C, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step. Again, that applies from any note on the piano. So there you have it. Now you can create any major or minor scale on the piano. The next very important topic, still on scales, is about scale degree numbers and also finger numbers to use with each note. So first, the scale degree number. So a scale degree is simply one of the notes in the scale. So let's count how many are in a normal scale. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And when we get to 8, it's simply a repeat of 1. So naturally, the first note in the scale is scale degree 1, scale degree 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this makes sense because the first note is scale degree 1 and the last note is scale degree 7. So that's important to know because when we get to chords, we'll talk about how to build chords with specific scale degrees. So then on to finger numbers. Okay, so when you see people play scales, they might play them really beautifully or they might play them quickly like this. That's just kind of a normal tempo, but it might seem a little bit daunting because when you go to play them, you might not really know where to put your fingers. Rightfully so, right? You can kind of make any of your fingers go anywhere, whichever one comes first, basically. but there is a formula for the best way to do it. So I want to talk about the biggest group. So there's kind of 3 or 4 groups of scale finger patterns, but the biggest one is for C major, D major, E major, G major, and A major. And these are all good starting keys to look at as well. And they all share the same finger pattern. So let's start with C major. So on scale degree 1 is finger 1. On scale degree 2 is finger 2. Scale degree 3 is finger 3. Not so hard. But then we need to move our hand a little bit so that our thumb is on scale degree 4. Then scale degree 5 is finger 2. Scale degree 6 is finger 3. Scale degree 7 is finger 4. And then once you get back to the top to C, you can use your pinky. So let's see what that looks like in real time. Easy and comfortable. Now, for the left hand, you simply reverse it. So instead of going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. So as you can see, they're just mirrors of each other. So let's do the left hand. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, then 3, 2, 1. When you come down, it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This pattern applies to all of the keys I mentioned before, so I just want to quickly show you what I mean. So for D major, it's the same. E major, it's also the same. G major, also the same. And A major is also the same. So this is your most basic scale fingering pattern, and I really hope you understand why it's a good idea to get one of these patterns nailed down so that you can play your scales both functionally and comfortably. Now that we know how to create scales, we know our scale degree numbers and also what fingers to use, we're going to talk about chords. So the reason why I said it's important to know your scale degrees is because when we go to create chords, chords are simply a combination or a stacking together of specific scale degrees. Like a little family, you're going to group them together. So for the major chord, we're going to be taking scale degrees from the major scale, like this. We're going to be taking scale degree 1, scale degree 3, and scale degree 5. And because you're only going from here to here, it fits within your hand comfortably, so there won't be any turning involved like in a scale. You'll just use finger 1, 3, 5 on scale degrees 1, 3, and 5. So that your C major chord both looks and sounds like this. There's your C major chord. Now, to make your minor chord, you'll be taking scale degrees from your minor scale. So just a reminder, this is what your minor scale sounds like. So again, we're still in this C to G position, so we don't need to be turning our hand under at any point, so it's very comfortable to sit within this solid position. So we'll be using again 1, 3, and 5, but this time you'll notice that your 3 has been moved down a half step, so it's flat. So we have scale degree 1, scale degree 3, which is flat, and 5. So 1, flat, 3, 5. And again, we'll use finger numbers 1, 3, and 5 on the corresponding scale degrees. So your minor chord, your C minor chord, sounds like this. Let's hear them back to back so you can hear the difference in sound. Major and minor. This applies for any key on the piano as well. If you wanted to create an E major chord, this is your E major scale, you would simply take scale degree 1, 3, and 5. There's your major chord. Now, a really good trick, let's say you have no problem at all to find your major chords and you just kind of have problems with remembering the minor one, like, oh, what is flat 3? Here's a good trick. So take any chord or scale. Let's use G major, for example. So G major has 1 sharp, but this sharp isn't within the triad, the chord, so it's simple. So let's use scale degree 1, 3, and 5. This is your major chord. So a good trick to find the minor chord is simply keep the same chord down and just move your third finger, your middle finger, down a half step. There's your minor. So it's very easy to transition from a major or minor chord back and forth if you might forget how to create one of them. So this is how you create and find all your major and minor chords, and I really hope you have an awesome time finding every single one on the piano. Okay, now that you've learned all of your scales, how to create them, the formulas, and all about your chords, I want to give you a fun exercise. And there's like 3 different levels that I want to go through. So the easiest one is just to do a 5-finger pattern. So first, just choose any scale. Let's use C major since we already went through it. And what you're going to do is just play a 5-finger pattern within the scale with both hands. You can repeat it as many times as you'd like. The benefit to doing this one is that you don't need to turn your hands under. I would also advise practicing your chord then. So you could do the pattern and then chord. Okay, now intermediate would be to practice doing hands together, but in a blocked format. So instead of playing through the notes individually, you could play blocks. So a block of 3, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then for the left hand, it's opposite. So 5, then 3, then 5, then 3. And then, of course, practice your chord. So intermediate would be blocking. You can also block them all together. And advanced would just be to play through the scales normally with either separate or both hands. And hands together. And with your chord. The same thing applies to the minor scale. So for 5-finger pattern in minor, same thing with the flat 3. You can still do the groupings for the intermediate. And together with your chord. Then advanced. And chord. So that's a great exercise, and I've given you 3 ways to adapt it to whatever level you'd like to practice at, or whatever level you're hoping to achieve when you're practicing. So you could start from beginner for a few days or a week, and then try to move up to the advanced one as you go. So I hope you have fun with that, and thanks so much for tuning in today here at the 9 to 5 Musician, and let us know again below if you have any questions. Give us a like on this video if it was helpful, and we will see you next time, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Okay, bye guys, happy practicing!